My name is Carol Mandi. I'm a publisher. I run True Love magazine. Previously, I published Drum magazine and Home and Living magazine. I also run afrilife.com, which is an entertainment platform for African celebrities. Yeah, I'm an author and a writer and a columnist. And I also was a previous talk show host, although I still hold talk shows on my YouTube channel. I think for me, the most exciting part of it is the creative process, is the fact that we're able to create different content every single day. So that is the best part of the job, because it's not routine. You're always calling forth, different aspects of yourself. You're having to do research. You're meeting different types of people. So for me, the best part of everything or anything that I do is just the ability to create stories, to tell inspiring, impactful, transformative stories. That's the highlight of my day. Of course, now that, with COVID, we're working a lot more from home. I miss the engagement and the interaction with my team members. But occasionally we will have meetings at least once a week, just to be able to just tap into each other's energy and to be able to, help where someone needs help, or offer advice. Yeah, so my day-to-day is pretty, in this COVID era, it's a lot different. It's lots of meetings on Zoom as opposed to face-to-face. And it's interesting because the other day I was complaining that I was having a challenge with my eyesight. I was feeling like my eyes are bloodshot. Then I just realized that it's because, in a day you can have 4 meetings staring at your screen, whereas before that would have been, a meeting you have with a person, you drive to their office or they come to you, it's face to face, the interaction is different. So it's lots of meetings online. And then just lots of working, making, a lot of it is a lot of remote working. March 2020 happened, and the very first thing was, okay, so what are we going to do? I mean, we had never, we were used to clocking in at 8 or 9 and clocking out in the evening. And we couldn't envision a world without having to do that. And so it became, very quickly, it became an issue of how we're going to survive as a media house. Advertisers, as you know, were, being in media yourself, advertising budgets were on hold. Everybody was taking a wait and see. We were anticipating that it was going to last us, 3 months at most, and a year later we're still here. So I think for me the initial my initial reactions were, oh my God, how are we going to do this? What does this mean? Not just for myself, but for my team members. What does it mean for my family in terms of how we're going to keep everybody healthy and safe? We were seeing a lot of horror stories coming from Europe, and so safety became the number one paramount, concern. And it wasn't just safety in terms of will I not get the virus. It was safety in terms of will I survive the virus, because the mortality rate coming from Europe was very high. So there was that, but then beyond the survival of as a person from a health perspective, there was, will my business survive? Will my business survive shrinking revenues that are coming in? We can't get our magazines to Mombasa or Kisumu anymore, because subsequent to that there was a lockdown. So will our magazines survive? And but very quickly we had to figure out what works, and so we began to sell most of our copies online, digitally. We began to create a lot of digital content. Our first cover was Tanasha Donna. She'd just broken up with Diamond Platnumz, I think about a month before that. So she was the cover, the April cover, and she did, that did very well digitally, but also we then supported that with an interview, what we now come to call the True Love Exclusive, which also did very well on YouTube. So it was really a learning curve, and just what I like to say, pivoting on heels. You roll with the punches, but you land on your heels. So that's what it was. 2020 was such an impactful year for me in terms of just the wide gamut of emotions I was going through. And it felt like, am I alone? Am I the only one who is struggling in this year with my business and making tough decisions in my business, concerned about laying off people? Am I the only one who's going through this? And when I began to speak to other business women, all of them were saying the same thing. They were saying, Carol, I faced it. This is what I'm going through, and I'm still pivoting. And so that's when the idea to do Pivoting in Heels, basically to tell the stories of these women. Because we say, in a normal world, a pandemic, say, happens once in a lifetime or once every 100 years. But I also ask myself, why God chose us to be the ones who were faced with it. So here we are facing this pandemic, and history needs to tell our stories, and history will tell the stories of women business leaders and what they did in 2020. So for me, doing Pivoting in Heels was really my attempt to capture that, so that people would know, like we like to say, I was here, we were here, we came, we saw, we conquered 2020, and we survived. So that was where it all came from. It came from lending a voice to all these amazing women who God had trusted us with a pandemic, and seeing how they just managed to keep their businesses afloat, keep their families together, and keep themselves sane. As a woman, I don't think there's any such thing as balance. I think what it is that you need to learn how to prioritize. You need to learn what your key priorities are at different seasons in your life. And you also need to know what your key priorities are, in different moments of your day. So it's really about managing what is important at every single part of your day, or part of your week, or part of your life, or season of your life. So that looks very different in different seasons. When my kids were much younger, when they were below the age of 5, and as a woman working in media, it was just, for me, very difficult. I mean, I used to have a lot of mommy guilt because I couldn't be there when it was important for them, because we were out covering stories, news, and I was actually working in a news organization. So I just, couldn't be there, and I had to make peace with that fact. But I had a lot of great support. My children's dad was very supportive. I had a great nanny. So I just had a lot of, support around me. My mom was alive then. She was an amazing support. So, and that's what helped me. So there is, such thing as balance. There's just, be very clear about your priorities, and your key priorities in a day, your key priorities in a month, your key priorities even in a year. Just know what is the main thing. I'm most passionate about, and it's several things. One, it's telling inspiring stories that transform lives. So that makes me wake up in the morning and I just think, oh wow, especially when we get an opportunity to do that, or to tell some really amazing stories that nobody has heard of, or to give a voice to, certain people who, normally would not appear in our papers or on our television screens. So that excites me. But I'm also passionate about women and young people. And I'm passionate in particular about what I call the economic and the social transformation of Africa. And I'm passionate about changing mindsets. So in a sense, I think that's what I want to focus, my next half of my life on. It's really about seeing ourselves as African women or young Africans or youthful Africans. I'm no longer, I don't consider myself a youth, but I'm young in spirit and young at heart. So I'm passionate about that and changing the mindset of Africans, and for us to see ourselves more in control of our own destinies, and to take our power back, because it's not that we're not powerful measure. I think it was Nelson Mandela who was quoting Marianne Williamson, who says, "Your playing small does not serve the world." And I want to see young Africans stop playing small. I'm passionate about the revival of Pan-Africanism, and COVID has given us an opportunity. The world has become flatter in COVID just because of the digital transformation. And so I'm passionate about the fact that right now I'm having conversations with people in Johannesburg and doing business with people in Johannesburg, people in West Africa, people in Eastern Central Africa. I'm passionate about that. Before we felt our borders, so, you kept thinking, oh, I need a visa, and now you don't. You can actually, we can interview someone anywhere in the world and even do business with someone anywhere in the world. So Africa has become flat, and that's an exciting opportunity for us to see ourselves as Africans. But obviously as a media person, to tell our stories and to own our power. Nobody's coming to give it to you. Nobody, the reality is you never lost it. You always had it, you just lost sight of it. So own your power as a young African or an African woman, and sit in your power and do what you're meant to do in this time. There are lots and lots of wins, and there are also lots of failures along the way. But you just don't see them in the world of magazine publishing, because what we do is we're all about glamour and everything. So people can look at my journey and think, oh my goodness, she's just had a pain-free journey, but that's not the truth. And so yesterday I was speaking to a lady that I'm helping to put together a magazine in the US. And I said to her, you know what, I've made tons and tons of money, but I've also lost tons and tons of money. And that's just the reality of being an entrepreneur and being a person in business. So there's been those highs and lows in business. And also just challenges of running a business. But I think what keeps me going is just the ability to always rebound and to refuse to give up. And there are times I feel like, okay, let me go grow tomatoes. There are times I feel like, let me go grow tomatoes, wear my gumboots, and let me go do that. But waking up the next morning and saying, I'm here, I'm in this place for such a time as this, and let me do my bit. So there have been lots of challenges. 2020 was a big challenge for me in business. But you just show up and you do what you need to do. I want to see myself as a person who made people believe that they can, because I did. And whatever that is, and if it's in my own story or it's in the story of a woman I'm telling. It could be the story of Wangari Maathai, who we interviewed her just before she passed away from cancer. And we were her last interview. It was telling that story in a very humane way, in a way that nobody else had. And it wasn't the story I wanted to tell, but it was the story that we got the opportunity to tell. My biggest legacy is not I will not measure it personally in what's in the bank or the big accolades, standing on podiums. My biggest story is that woman who just believed that she could go again tomorrow, another day, another month, another year, because of a story, one story that we managed to tell. And so I want to feel and believe that we've impacted lives in that way, and that I will just die a happy person. Challenges, I think, would be the same challenges that any entrepreneur would face. Cash flow challenges, okay? So there are times you're trying to figure out, how am I going to pay salaries this month? That's a big challenge. People management is a big challenge. So working with people sometimes and you don't have the same vision. I've generally been blessed because I've had some really amazing team members who are still friends up until today. And we've worked together and we're still friends up until today. But sometimes managing people is difficult, and I don't think it's just for entrepreneurs, it's across the board. So that's been a big challenge. And then just, I think sometimes just the personal issues, just dealing with personal challenges as a woman, and yet having to show up and still do what we do, while you're carrying your children on your back and the community, in your arms or your hands. Those are challenges, that we go through. So my challenges have been many. I can't say one main challenge, because I can tell you that for every success, there's been a challenge. There's been something that I've had to overcome. So there've been so many, I can't think of one because they've just been so many. And I just wake up and say, okay, so what are we dealing with today? Today we're dealing with this particular issue, and so we just show up and we deal with that particular issue. I don't know that I've had, I call them giants on the way. Sometimes I'm like, okay, God, really, please, you can just reduce, you can reduce them. So I've just had so many. I don't know, because if I was to say, for instance, is it lawsuits? Yes, we faced lawsuits. Is it having job losses, sending people home? Yes, we've had to do that. Is it shrinking revenues? Yes, we faced shrinking revenues. Have we made money? Yes, there have been times we've made great money, lots and lots of money. So yeah, I mean, those are, I think, maybe normal, because now they become normal because I just know that every time I reach a mountain experience, that I have to come down. And when I come down into the valley, I have to deal with one giant or the other. And every space presents its own giants, but it also presents its own angels or just wonderful people. So I've just come to accept that. I would say, in terms of opportunities, one of the things that I always did is I walked through open doors. I believe when a door opens for you, take it. Just go through, go in, and you will find out either you're in the right place or you've made a mistake, but you'll never know if you don't take the opportunity. So I feel a lot of times young upcoming women are very fixated in their minds about what I can and I can't do, because we've glamorized media. And so they would say something like, okay, I want to be the next Lillian Muli, or I want to be the next Victoria Rubadiri, or whoever, They sort of feel that that's where they need to land straight out of university. And maybe what is available is a writing job, or an editing job, or a sales job. Whatever it is, whatever door opens for you, take it. That's my advice, okay? Don't sit at home waiting for your big break. Always look for which doors are opening for you, because sometimes maybe that door into, a sales position at KTN, for instance, could be the door that leads you into that job 5 years down the road, okay? So walk through the open doors, because you will encounter lots of open doors in your life, but you must recognize them and walk through them. Don't expect it to be easy. It's not going to be easy. I wish I could tell you otherwise. I wish I pray you have a better life, a rosier life than I did. But you will have difficulties along the way. So expect them, anticipate them, prepare for them, and just keep moving forward. Okay, just keep walking. Like wake up every day and just keep moving forward. Face your giants. Slay your giants and keep moving forward, because trust me, every new country will have its own giant. Every new mountain will have its own giant. So, but it will also have its own angels, people who will be put there to help you, right? And it will also have its moments of glory. What you see when you see people like us and people who've been featured on this show, is you see public success. What you don't see is the private failure. You don't see the hours of background work. That's what you don't see. So don't let that fool you. Don't let 25 minutes of an interview make you believe that there is no 25 years of hard work behind it. It is there, and it is a grind, but it's a fun grind. Choose your grind, but it will be a grind. Just choose it. Make sure it's a fun one.